So groupers, so named, they're a family of fish that they group spawn, which is great for them, I imagine, but it makes them very vulnerable to fishing pressure once those spawning grounds are known and identified, and because they spawn on a regular basis in the summer months. So for many years they've been fished heavily. So these grounds are now protected. We're in the spawning season right now. And so on the full moon, typically around the full moon, they'll come here to spawn. We're not at full moon right now, but large aggregations of groupers, primarily black groupers here, but we suspect there will be other groupers amongst them. And so from a management point of view, it's really critical to get information about the environment. Why do they come here? We don't necessarily know very much about that. So the more information we can get using the REMUS, telling us about the environment, building up a three-dimensional profile of the reef, getting us information on water quality, and all parameters, as well as filming, we can learn an awful lot about this spawning ground. We don't imagine that we know there are other spawning grounds. Some we know, and I imagine that there are probably more that we don't know. Mm-hmm. So again, we're just learning and building up layers of information that will help us better manage the species.
Amazing. And if we find that these parameters are a certain, the temperature's a certain temperature, then perhaps we can identify other spawning grounds by looking at the same environmental conditions?
Absolutely, absolutely. The other thing that's going to become increasingly important, we shut this, the fisheries managers shut this area off during the spawning season, and typically it's sort of April, May time. Depends when the full moon falls, but it's also temperature dependent. With increasing seawater temperature, we suspect that the season may start earlier. So the more we learn about that, the more important that will be as well with regards to management and how and when we close that season off.
Absolutely.
So those will all be things that we start to learn.
So essentially, because of climate change, grouper activity will change, and with the REMUS we can actually identify those changes and then adapt our conservation policies around that to help preserve them.
Yeah, I mean, it might change. We suspect that as it warms up, that because they're temperature dependent in terms of when they start spawning, that will have an impact. And so the more we can learn about the conditions here with the REMUS, the more it will help us to aid that management and understand how better to manage them.
Amazing.
Yeah.